This podcast serves Middle Tennessee every weekday morning, and it's made possible by member support. Learn how you can make a difference at WPLN.org/support.
This is the Nash Villager Podcast. It's August 26, 2025. On this day in 1791, two different men were granted two different patents for their two different takes on a new technology that would end up having a tremendous impact on cities like Nashville. John Fitch and James Rumsey were rivals who each designed steamboats for traveling America's rivers, and both did successfully put boats into service before the end of the 18th century. But the iconic steam-powered paddle boat that you're probably picturing right now was the result of further revisions to the technology, which is why Robert Fulton is the person considered the inventor of the boats that revolutionized travel and commerce along the Mississippi and the network of smaller rivers, like the Cumberland in Tennessee, that feed into it. I'm Nina Cardona, and this is your daily digest of what's happening around Middle Tennessee with historical context from Nashville Public Radio, WPLN News. If you sit on the banks of the Cumberland River to watch the world go by, it won't be long before you see a barge pushed by a towboat, loaded with some kind of bulk good like sand, coal, or building materials. It's a kind of commercial transportation lots of folks forget about, but it's still a big business. According to statistics cited by the state last year, there are 57 dedicated river ports in Tennessee. Barge transportation brings nearly $1 billion in revenue to the state each year, and that's continuing to grow. And it started in earnest with steamboats. Now, when this city was established, there was some degree of transport happening on the river using flatboats. Those were generally shallow, boxy watercraft about 12 feet wide that just used some oars and the river current to get from point A to point B. A lot of times the operator would demolish the boat at his destination, sell the wood, and essentially hike back home. Some folks did carry goods all the way from Nashville to Natchez, Mississippi, or New Orleans, and then walked back here on the Natchez Trace. You can just imagine how long that took, not to mention what kind of limits there were on how much cargo you could carry on a human-powered temporary vessel. And if your route included the Tennessee River, well, good luck navigating the stretch through Alabama that turned shallow, rocky, and hazardous. I'm talking, of course, about Muscle Shoals. Now, you've got to remember, none of these rivers had dams back then. Dams do more than make lakes. They tame rivers to some extent. They certainly make them more navigable. The first steamboat showed it could travel the Mississippi in 1811. And by the end of that decade, the original General Jackson paddle boat sailed the Cumberland to Nashville. According to the Tennessee Encyclopedia, the smaller versions of the boats hit a sweet spot for needing only a few feet of water to carry a 300-ton craft loaded with crops, livestock, wholesale goods, and people. The steamers didn't immediately put flatboats out of business, not by a long shot, but they dramatically increased the scale of business that could be operated out of this area. Nashville became a major river port city. So did Clarksville. Now, plenty has changed through the years. Railroads, airplanes, interstate highways have all added more options for transporting goods. But being an established logistics hub almost certainly contributed to those other modes of transportation coming here in such a significant pattern that continued to layer on and just reinforce the city's hub status. And those other developments haven't taken away from the river's importance. In fact, one of the largest companies towing flat cargo boats across the nation's waterways is based here, Ingram Marine, or as it used to be called, Ingram Barge. That firm opened here in 1946, and now it has a fleet of more than 150 towboats and 5,000 barges. Earlier this year, Ingram and the state announced a new investment in river transport on the Cumberland. They're building a $30 million port area in Ashland City. When finished, it will add an access point that's about 10 miles from two major interstates and quite close to a rail line. It's expected to be a place for transferring loads of goods like rebar, aluminum, and rubber from one mode of transportation to another, giving more chances to streamline and optimize the movement of cargo and head off bottlenecks and traffic jams on the roads and the rails. In just a few minutes, lifelong learners on the never-ending quest to expand their horizons. That's coming up after the newscast.
At WPLN, we tell stories about honoring our families.
If he become a monk, that means that mom and dad will go to heaven when they pass away.
And preserving memories.
I never heard of a Rosenwald school. Nobody never told me that's where I went.
I'm Char Daston, and my reporting connects you with your neighbors and the important moments in their lives.
Here's the latest from WPLN News. A Tennessee appeals court ruling could mean shorter sentences for people convicted of murder. The court ruled that those convicted before 1995 or as juveniles could shave time off their life sentences for good behavior. The case centers around Howard Atkins, who was sentenced to 51 years in prison when he was a teenager for killing his abusive stepfather. That amounts to a life sentence. Research has found that 1 year behind bars takes off 2 years from someone's life expectancy. Most juveniles sentenced to 51 years would not live to be eligible for release. Atkins sued the Tennessee Department of Correction, arguing that his good behavior while incarcerated should change the day his sentence expires in accordance with the law. In an interview with WPLN and the Tennessee Lookout in 2022, Atkins said that even though he thought he would spend his life in prison, he strived to maintain a perfect disciplinary record.
I just believed eventually it would matter, and I want to keep striving to improve and try to make it through this.
If this ruling stands, Atkins' lawyer said it means dozens or even hundreds of incarcerated people should have already been released from state custody. Tennessee Department of Correction could still appeal the ruling. Tennessee once had one of the harshest mandatory sentences for juveniles convicted of murder. A 2022 Tennessee Supreme Court ruling deemed that sentence as cruel and unusual punishment and unconstitutional. That gave more than 100 incarcerated people, like Atkins, a chance to go in front of the parole board. The suit challenging Tennessee's law that charges public officials with a felony for voting in favor of sanctuary city policies is taking time to explore settlement. The ACLU of Middle Tennessee filed a legal challenge back in June on behalf of 7 Nashville Metro Council members. The complaint alleges that the new law is a First Amendment violation. It passed this year as part of a sweeping immigration package and takes Tennessee's existing ban on sanctuary city policies a step further, making it a crime to vote in favor of them. Earlier this month, a 3-judge panel was appointed to hear the case. Those judges have now approved a motion for extension of time, which will give the ACLU and the state until October 10th to explore the possibility of a settlement. A court case that pitted the state of Tennessee against the U.S. Department of Education has seen a big change in its key players. Now that the Trump administration is in power, the Justice Department has flipped sides and will no longer defend a college scholarship program that helps institutions with large Hispanic enrollments. Tennessee's Attorney General and a national anti-affirmative action group argue that the program launched in 1998 is unconstitutional. It provides competitive grants to about 500 colleges with at least a quarter of students who are Hispanic. Tennessee argued that threshold is arbitrary and that it prevents colleges here from tapping into the funds. The state partners with the same group that sued over college admissions practices, prompting a 2023 Supreme Court ruling that rolled back race-based considerations. Several local hospitals are building in Clarksville. That will not include Tenova, at least for now. State regulators have signed off on new builds by HCA and Ascension St. Thomas, but they blocked a proposal by Tenova, according to records obtained by News Channel 5. The records offered no explanation for the denial. When hospitals want to build in new areas, they need to get a certificate of need from the Tennessee Health Facilities Commission. Part of that process includes proving the area's need for more hospital capacity. Tenova already operates a hospital in Clarksville, and the new Ascension St. Thomas facility is going up next door. Tenova told Channel 5 that it would keep working to build a satellite hospital in the area. The Tennessee Valley Authority is using voluntary buyouts to cut 600 jobs. That's part of a plan to cut $1 billion in spending, according to the Chattanooga Times-Free Press. Workers will either resign or retire early. The departure started in May and will continue through September. The federal utility says there might be a small number of layoffs, but the voluntary quitting and the Trump administration's hiring freeze made the bulk of the savings. WPLN has reported extensively on TVA's ongoing challenges, including blowback about the utility's reliance on fossil fuels, high executive salaries, and its slow rate of nuclear growth. Both of Tennessee's senators have blasted the agency, and President Donald Trump has floated the idea of privatizing it. To go from homelessness to housing is no small feat. And our daily show, This Is Nashville, has dedicated 7 episodes of its In My Place series to breaking down the steps from the first point of contact between social services and an unhoused person, and over all the hurdles to actually getting the keys to an apartment. Kip Oshner was recovering from a life-threatening illness at the Village at Glencliff and reflects on getting well and finally moving into his own place.
The leasing agent left. I closed the door, kind of walked around the apartment a little bit, and it was a very serene, very calm feeling. Then the excitement hit, and I'm not going to lie, I danced around the apartment a little bit by myself, but I was that excited where there's been tears of joy, and I'm literally dancing by myself to Postmodern Jukebox, but it was amazing.
You can hear more success stories in the latest installment of our series on preventing and ending homelessness. You can catch up on that in the This Is Nashville podcast feed. Well, the neon lights of a popular drive-in restaurant in Lebanon are getting a reprieve that will keep them glowing. A public support campaign rallied behind the Snow White Drive-In, which dates to the 1950s, but that had ended up on the wrong side of a new signage ordinance. The Wilson Post reports city officials have been trying to limit the proliferation of vape and smoke shops, including bright LED signage. Officials began working with Snow White ownership to seek an allowance through the local zoning appeals board. Instead, the Lebanon City Council has voted to rescind the sign ordinance. You'll find more news anytime at WPLN.org. With age comes wisdom, we hope. But many older adults are actively choosing to keep learning new things. More than half of Americans aged 45 and older are taking classes, going back to school, and even earning degrees, according to AARP. Some lifelong learners spoke to our daily show, This Is Nashville, about why they take classes. We heard from participants at Vanderbilt's Osher Learning Institute, Metro Action Commission's Adult Education Program, and Lipscomb's Lifelong Learning Program.
Consistently, we are being told to stay active, to learn, and to develop a community. And so the Osher program, along with the other lifelong learning programs that we're going to be talking about today, they all give us that opportunity.
Yeah, I think we obviously the mind works differently when we're older. What have you had to work harder to learn things, or do you find that you're as much a sponge as ever?
Actually, I think the curiosity element is key. I have to throw in here too. Of course, it's a joy and a blessing that there's no homework, and there are no tests. Yes. So you take out those anxiety pieces, and you can truly enjoy learning. At this age, learning takes on a new joy because you just have the opportunity to explore new topics. And here in Nashville, at all these programs that we're talking about, there are such quality instructors. And we have the opportunity to sit under their teaching and just soak it up, soak it up. But I always have to throw in the research and the data, which proves that learning as we age actually changes our brain. It improves the plasticity of our brain cells, creating like a hedge for future brain cell loss as we age.
Sheila, I wonder what you would say to, I'm guessing you could, on your own, finish, let's say, a GED. But there's probably something about having other people alongside you doing this rather than, just doing something online. What did you find at the Metro Action Commission's program? What was it like to have other people alongside you?
Inspiring.
Really?
Because I thought I was the only one going back to school at my age, but I wasn't.
Yeah. What kind of teachers are working at the Action Commission?
Oh, we have like instructors, like math, science, and whatever.
Yeah. We hear a lot from folks about technology getting in the way sometimes. How do they make sure technology doesn't get in the way for
Well, it's
folks?
kind of hard at our age if you don't know about computers, the internet. And they had classes there. They can teach us about the internet if we needed it, but I didn't, and it made it easier.
Yeah. Dennis, for Lipscomb Lifelong Learners, if I understand correctly, you're still doing it, right? 5 years in, and you're still signed up for classes.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Is this at night? Is it during the day? Are there college students in there with you, or is it just folks that are sort of the 50 plus?
It's during the day, and it's mostly people that are 50 plus. It's a real good set of people, and I got to know a lot of them from now. And it's just a learning experience that you get from the great instructors.
For people who are thinking, why is a university about educating young people? Why would they have a focus on seniors? Can you kind of explain why universities find this beneficial?
Sure. Well, we like to believe that higher education and universities are part of the forward thinkers.
Yeah.
And so the Asian population is growing tremendously, and at some point they're going to outnumber the other populations. And so this is about the future. This is about creating a future that offers the resources that older adults need and desire for personal and professional development. And so this is about inclusivity. This is about using the university, which serves such an important role in community, to promote positive aging.
Tara, I wonder at Osher, I'm just imagining some people hearing about a program that's on Vanderbilt's campus and being intimidated. This fairly elite university, like, what do I have to do to qualify? How, what sort of GPA do I need to have had to get in? What do you find folks might be intimidated, and how do you get across that?
I think there probably are. One of our best, forms of marketing is word of mouth. I'm sort of testing the waters with some more, some lighter classes. Not everything's Algerian war. And so we've got ukulele and still drumming class. They've been going on for 12 years.
I've heard of it, yes.
We also had an improv class this term. And so I think a lot of people just join also for the community aspect of it. And that is pretty clear and evident that you don't need necessarily a degree or a 4.0 GPA.
The full episode on learning opportunities for adults 50 years and older is available now on our website and in the This Is Nashville podcast feed. We do this roundup of Nashville news every weekday. Please consider subscribing on your favorite podcasting app. Thanks so much to all of you who've left 5 stars, a thumbs up, or a review in your app of choice. That little bit of love really does tell the algorithms that more people should hear about us. And of course, everything at WPLN News is listener supported. You can make a donation at WPLN.org. And that's it for today. Thanks so much for listening. Let's make this day a good one. And we'll catch back up tomorrow.